Good things come in threes, and so I have three stories that I'd like to share with you. Some of them have been mentioned tonight, or this morning. Feels like tonight sometimes. Three football stories, but football stories that I think we can draw some analogies from. The first one, which was mentioned, was when I played at the University of Western Ontario. And I was actually a hockey player growing up. Started when I was 3 years old, loved hockey, didn't play football until I got to high school, and really only played football in high school to keep me busy until hockey season started. And that was what it was to me. In grade 11, my third year of high school, I actually didn't even play football. And then got back into it in grade 12 and 13, and I remember distinctly having an argument with my head coach on whether or not I was good enough to play football at the University of Western Ontario. I didn't think I was. Luckily, he convinced me I was, and I went on to play there. I played at Western for 4 years, and when Sandy and I attended Western, there was no question which university was the best football team in the country. If you played for 5 years at the University of Western Ontario, which was your eligibility, you played in the national championship game. Things have changed there, Sandy. I think we must have broke the mold or something, but when we were there, we were good. We won a lot of football games. But in particular, in 1994, I had the opportunity to be part of something fascinating. I played on a team that went through the whole regular season without losing a game. We were 8-0 throughout the regular season. We went on through the playoffs and won 3 games to get to the Vanier Cup, which is the national championship for Canada. And so going into the national championship, I played on an undefeated team, a team that had not seen defeat. And for those of you who know football, this is pretty rare. And let me stop here. Put up your hand if you say, I've got a pretty good idea what football is about. About half of us. All right, I should have done this first. So you understand, I'm an offensive lineman. Now, for those of you who don't know football, all you need to know is I'm one of the big guys who hits the other big guys. All right, that's pretty much the extent of it. All right, if you understand that, you know what I do. But I was playing in this national championship game, and it was at the Sky Dome in Toronto when it was still called the Sky Dome in '94. We were playing in front of 35,000 people, and I understand there was over 1 million people watching on TV. So this was huge. This was huge from someone who came from a high school who would have a handful of parents watching him play. We had a lot of fans at Western for university, but the most I ever played in front of was perhaps 10 or 12,000. So here we were in front of 35,000 at the Sky Dome, 1 million watching on TV, going in as undefeated champions of our division, playing for a national championship. You know, as it went on, after 4 quarters, we were tied. Our kicker kicked a 42-yard field goal with 6 seconds left to tie it, and we went into overtime. After overtime, we came out on top and won the game 50-40. It was absolutely incredible, a 50-40 win in overtime. And I remember the mayhem. What I remember distinctly is the mayhem after the game. You know, fans, of course, Western's in London, so we were an hour and a half away. We were playing Saskatchewan, so most of the fans there were ours, piled onto the field. And I remember perfect strangers coming and hugging me, kissing me. People had no idea who they were. You know, it's interesting. I actually out on the field in this mayhem of fans and players and coaches, I bumped into my grandmother. Now this time she's in her 70s. Now all I can think of is, how did you A, get out of the bleachers, and B, how did you get around security? Somehow she found a way, because she was out on the field. I gave her a great big hug on that field. And you know, to this day, if you ask her about that game, she will not talk about football. All she will talk about is how bad she smelled because she hugged me after a football game. I want to tell you 3 stories, and they're all about football locker rooms. Can you imagine the Arizona Cardinals locker room right now? I mean, you could hear a pin drop in there right now. I mean, it's just death is hanging in that locker room right now. They got to find something to break out of that. But at the same time, can you imagine what the Steelers locker room is like now? They're going crazy. They're going crazy. Anyways, I want to talk about 3 locker room stories. Before I do that, as I said, my name is Jude St. I play offensive line in the Toronto Argonauts. I played 14 years in the CFL, and CFL years I'm an old man. So I'm getting close to the end of my career, but it's been a good run. And as Pastor said, I had a chance to win a championship in 2004, so it's certainly exciting to watch this tonight. So listen, football locker room, all right? They should be like Las Vegas, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But what happens in a football locker room should stay there, but I'm going to tell you the stories anyway, all right? First one, both these first 2 stories are from 2004 when we won a championship. And halfway through the season, we were in a locker room in Winnipeg. We lost a game to Winnipeg that we should have won. And something was said from one of the defensive players to one of the offensive players, something derogatory, as we were coming into the locker room. And in a split second, we had mayhem in the locker room. We had guys ready to fight. Now, you got to understand, there's 43 guys, all professional football players, in a tiny locker room, and it's about to get ugly. Split down the middle, offense against defense, guys are grabbing each other. I'm thinking, this is going to be nuts. This is going to be crazy. I'm looking for the smallest guy I can grab possible. Right? I don't want to mess with one of the big guys. I'm talking coaches are getting grabbed. One coach got pinned up against the locker. I mean, this is absolutely crazy, right? Eventually, we're going to win the Grey Cup, but here we are, halfway through the season, a team that's supposed to be a family, and we're just literally grabbing each other by the throat. It was unbelievable. The tension in that room, you could have cut it with a knife. But it wasn't ideal, certainly not what you wanted in your locker room. Fast forward to the Grey Cup, 2004 in Ottawa. Same group of guys, different actual room, but the same locker room of guys together. After the game, much different situation. I got a picture here I want to show you, and Tim can throw it up there. I actually got a picture of the locker room. There's me. Now remember, white hat, a couple pounds. But that is one of my favorite pictures of my football career. I was telling back to Tim, I still have that hat. It still smells like old champagne. But that to me expresses one of the best memories I ever had in locker room. Right after that, they opened up the doors. Everyone's family came in. It was elbow to elbow. I mean, strangers kissing you, hugging you, people celebrating, and it was absolutely amazing. I'll never forget that feeling of family, that feeling of team that was in that locker room after we won that championship. Now, one more story. I want to tell you about a highlight in my football career. And when you ask players about the highlight, 2004 with the Grey Cup, I mean, I'm an offensive lineman. I don't get a score touchdown. I don't get a chance for ball. So, I mean, well, yeah, I blocked a couple guys or whatever. I mean, what's the highlight? Well, this was a highlight. Highlight for me was when I first got to take one of my kids into the locker room after a game.